Here we go, continuing the rating climb, 743. Let's play E5. Real quick announcement, if you didn't catch the other video, there's a new channel, Chess Adventures, where the Bobby Fischerman series and the Martin videos will be posted going forward. So for those of you who are wondering what happened to that series, it got moved over to the other channel. So Chess Adventures, check that out if you're interested. Okay, Bishop C4, we might be seeing a 4-move checkmate attempt. Let's see. No, we do not. Okay. So let's play the two knights again, and we'll see if we're going to... Yes, we do. We do get the fried liver attempt. Okay. So let's play d5, or we could play the Traxler. I don't really know a lot of theory in the Traxler, but it is kind of fun. Should we try? Let's try it. Let's do it. So we'll play the Traxler, and I mean, I've looked at these lines a long time ago. I think I may have even done a video, but it's been a while, and I don't remember them. So the point is that we want to sacrifice here and follow up with the knight and the queen coming out and attack the king. So let's go ahead and do that. So even though there's a fork right now, we're going on the offensive. All right, here we go. And the knight's going to come in, and then it unleashes our queen. Okay, king to e2. So this is basically where my theory ends. I don't remember the best move, but just from a logical standpoint, knight to d4 makes a lot of sense. It's bringing another knight to the center with check. I'm even thinking about a move like d5, which does lose my queen, but then I would be able to play bishop g4 check and get the queen back. Is that a good trade? I don't know that I necessarily need to do that. I think I probably will save my queen with a move like queen to h4, also queen to f6. I like queen to h4 because it lines up with the bishop over here, as well as threatening queen f2. I'm not sure if it's better to do this or knight to d4. The king's probably not going to come up if I play knight to d4. It's probably going to go back. If it goes back here, I'm happy because I have the check. If it goes here, I do have queen check here. And it's also pretty good. Both moves seem very, very good to me. Let's go with knight to d4. I'm not sure which one's better, but I think this looks pretty solid. I mean, the king can come up and attack my knight, but that just looks way too unsafe for white's king. I just can't believe that we wouldn't have a checkmate somehow if that happened. So I'm kind of counting on the fact that the king is going to retreat. Oh, it does come up. Okay, so let's think through this. The king can't move any of these squares currently. It can move here, but then we do have a triple fork. So not really worried about that one. I don't have a great check at the moment because I can't go here. I can play queen f6, queen h4, threaten this or this. This one defends my knight, so maybe that's the best option. I can also just go here, but then the king probably will come up. The queen can come out. Very complicated position. You can see why the Traxler is so dangerous for both sides, really. But it looks to me like queen h4 is a pretty good move. I'm just wondering, is it better to go here, actually? Because on queen h4, there is g3, which kind of stops both of my threats. Queen f6, there's no g3, but there's rook f1. So it's kind of a trade-off. Here, I could take, and then the queen comes in. That actually looks really good. Forces the king. Yeah, that actually looks good. All right. So with all that in mind, I think we'll go with queen h4. Looks to be the best option to me. I am going to lose this pawn potentially, but I think getting the queen out there and threatening this is super powerful. So that's what we're going to go with. We'll check this game afterwards with the engine just to see what the best moves were according to Stockfish. But this looks pretty good. Okay, so our opponent does go for g3, which does stop this checkmate and this one. Well, that wasn't checkmate, but it stops these two moves. And what I was thinking was we take it. The point is that after this, we recapture with the queen, and the white king has to come up. I don't immediately see a checkmate, but d5, and we're just unleashing all these pieces. I feel like that's got to be the correct approach. Now, let's just see, are there any other moves that make sense before I do that? Unfortunately, I can't go here or here because this knight There's knight check, but then the king's going to move where? Probably back. That's an interesting line. We could go check. What's the follow-up going to be? Or we could even just take this. Dun, 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 get a fork. Wow. So that's actually a line that I'm considering as well. We sack the knight. King comes up. We play d5, I think. Probably the bishop takes. Oh, but then we come out here, which I believe is checkmate. So the king would have to take. King's going to try to run this way. I mean, that's pretty wild. It looks good, but still wild. This line, king can't go there because we have, well, actually, our queen would be under attack in that situation. So the king maybe could go there. Check. No, but we would take the queen with check if it went there. And if it went here, we'd have that move. Okay. So that's, check. Oof, I could also do that and get a fork there. Check, check, check. King moves. Where does the king move, actually? This is so wild. So wild. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I'm going to go with this one. And just for the sake of, like, not running out of time. But knight f5 very, very well maybe could have been the best move. I don't know. I mean, it's move 9, and it's already so complicated I can't even think through all the lines. That's what the Traxler generally does. So if you like that kind of a game, definitely look at the Traxler. It's actually really good, especially if you've studied it a lot, because you'll know the better moves. And if you've studied it more than your opponent, it's going to be hard for them to beat you. All right, so this is what I was talking about. The king's going to have to come up. And I was thinking d5. If bishop takes, we have checkmate, so the king would have to take. And we do have a check here. Or check with the bishop, and we trade that, or take this, or castle. Yeah, so that's pretty good. Am I missing something more obvious, though? Check. The king goes back. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Maybe I'm missing it, but I think d5. Just the principle of unleashing another piece, and potentially a rook as well. If I can't castle immediately, but like maybe like this, and maybe we can somehow take this and then get the rook involved. Okay, white has to take with the king. Only move. I think we're going to go check. King would have to go here. Where's the checkmate? I just don't see the checkmate. Check. Oh, because the queen's cutting off the back. Maybe there is. All right, so let's see. Bishop check. King goes here. B6 check. Only move. A5 check. King goes here. Bishop D7. Bishop goes here and checkmate. Wow. It is a checkmate. It's a forced checkmate. Okay, so I think we did the right thing. I didn't see it before. And that happens sometimes. Like sometimes, especially in these complicated positions, sometimes you have to kind of use your like judgment of like, does it look like there's probably a good follow-up? Yes, I think so. Let me go with this line. Okay, that's just checkmate in 1. Bishop f5. If I'm not mistaken, the queen cuts this way. Defends the pawn. This is defended. Yep, it's checkmate. Okay, what a game. What a game. Let's check the game review on this one. This should be interesting. And what? I don't believe that. 100? Okay. 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 Rating of 1550. I don't know how they do these rating things. That seems weird. Anyway, wow. Knight takes g3 was brilliant. I'm super surprised. I'm really surprised. For some reason, I felt like I was missing something. Wow. Well, let me turn this off so you can see the board. I'm just kind of in shock with that one. Okay, so we played a book move. This is the Traxler. I knew that this was right, to take and lure the king out. Here is kind of where I wasn't sure. So apparently knight d4 was the best move. Let's just see. Let me check the analysis over here. Yeah, wow. Queen h4 is not nearly as good as knight to d4 was. Ah, because of queen to e1. Threatening a queen trade, controlling the square. And the king, I guess, is going to run and hide. Maybe is one of the ideas. Yeah, okay. So I chose the right one. King came up. And I was considering here, I think, queen f6 as well as queen h4. Again, queen f6 not nearly as good because I did mention this, I think, rook f1. So again, found the right move. Okay. Yeah. So knight f5 check was also a good move, like we kind of analyzed, but not nearly as good as knight takes g3. So I played the right move there. Captures. And d5 is a forced mate. So I did play a perfect game. It's amazing. So I'll show you guys the line I was looking at here was going to be bishop to e6. King has to go to c5, only move. Well, I guess they could go back, actually. Then where's the mate here? Huh, I guess that would have been a tricky way to do it. Take and then go back. There is a mate, but it's 11 moves. Anyway, let's keep going with this one I wanted to show you. So here, b6 check forces the king back here. a5 check forces the king over here. And then we just drop the bishop back. And notice the queen is actually playing a role here, cutting off the back there. And after bishop b5, we simply take it. Really, really cool checkmate. So I'm proud of that game. Haven't played the Traxler in a while, and so I was very rusty, but we did come away with the win. All right, let's keep going. We'll play a new game. All right, e4. Let's play knight f3, and I'll play d4. Somebody had asked for like a Scotch Gambit or Hacksaw Gambit type of a game, so we'll see if we can play something like that. Basically, if they take, we'll play bishop c4. Okay, they didn't take. D5. I don't know what's going on here. Usually what I like to do is just, you kind of want to analyze all the different captures and then what happens if I just leave it. So let's just start with this one. Probably the queen's going to take. I could attack, but then the bishop comes out. It looks like black's getting pretty active pieces that way. If I take this way, black could take here, but then I could trade. That looks pretty good. I take with the knight. Also looks pretty good. What if I leave it and do something else? Bishop b5. The idea is if this happens, we can take here. I don't know. Don't really see anyone that looks like this is definitely the best way. So when in doubt, what I like to do is choose a developing move. So maybe I'm going to play bishop b5. Yeah, I'll just play bishop b5. I don't actually know. I don't think I've ever seen this before. It's probably a fine move, though. Like, black is just striking at the center, letting their pieces out. You can't really go wrong with a move like that. And so I'm not really expecting there to be any kind of, like, winning line. Okay, let's trade that. And now I see a way to hop my knight in. And even though I'm going to lose this pawn probably, my knight is going to be sitting there on e5, which looks pretty strong. So let's do that. We're already attacking a weak pawn. I'm also attacking this pawn, which if I pair that with a queen move, could be very dangerous at some point. And I'm ready to castle before black is. So I'm feeling pretty good about how this has gone down. Yeah, I don't even think I want that pawn right now. Yes, it's a pawn. Yes, it attacks the queen, but then the queen's going to move somewhere. I'm going to have to move my knight. And I think I would rather simply just castle, get my king out of the center, and start thinking about this. I think that's more important than a pawn. Okay, so they do save it. Of course, I could take it, but it's defended. That could offer a queen trade, which I don't necessarily really want to do. I could also just immediately play rook e1 and sacrifice this pawn. I could push by. A lot of options. Which one is the best? I'm leaning towards pushing by only because it guarantees that black's pawns are going to stay messed up. Rather than like trading one off, it kind of makes their life a little bit easier. But I think I will push. The only thing that I don't like about pushing is that my knight then becomes weaker. But it looks like I'll be able to hop over to c6 or back to c4 and I'll be okay. So I think I will do that. All right, so the knight, like I mentioned, is now under attack. So we can move it over here. We could defend it. What else do we have? Might be a crazy line here to actually sacrifice it, followed up with the pin. And then after f6, we would have f4. Looks interesting, at least. I don't know that I'm going to do that, but I am just considering. I'm also keeping an eye on this, because if black's queen comes out, I am going to have to deal with the checkmate threat. So let me, like, for example, if I just quickly play knight c6, what happens on queen h4? Do I have a way to stop this, right? That's the kind of stuff you want to be thinking through. Could also play f4. Yes, it allows en passant, but then I could recapture, even with the queen, actually. Looks pretty good. And if this happens, I would recapture. Yeah, actually, I like that. But I am going to play f4. Didn't see that move right away, but I kind of kept scanning for some options and then saw that. Okay, so here's what I was talking about. I can actually leave the knight and take with the queen because we set up a checkmate threat here. Which looks very dangerous for black. They can't take my knight. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I think I am going to do that. We have 3 pieces now lined up on the f7 square, so they can't defend. They could try f6, but then it opens... Okay, they didn't see the checkmate. I was going to say they could try f6. It opens up this move, but this is just checkmate in 1. All right. Let's check the game review real quick. I'm just curious. Okay, we played pretty well that one as well. 1500. So the way they have these ratings makes me wonder. It's almost like if you play a perfect game, they just add a bunch of points to your current rating. But I've never seen this say anything higher than like 1500, even if you play a perfect game. Whereas on my main account, where I'm rated 2400, if I played a perfect game, they would say, oh, it's like 3200, 3300 performance rating. So that's interesting. Learn something about that. All right, let's keep going. New 10-minute. Okay, let's try. We'll play e5 again. Should we play another Traxler? That was pretty... No, he's not going to do it. Okay. Pretty fun. I'm kind of ready to play Traxler again after that last game. Okay, so... I mean, this is a threat, and we might lose our pawn. I think... I could play d6 to defend, but that's really passive. And rather than do that, I'm going to play bishop c5 with the idea of, if this happens, I'm going to have probably a tactic here with sacrificing my bishop. My queen comes up and get my pawn back, or my piece back, I should say. Something like that. Okay. Now that we have the bishop out, d6 becomes more of a viable move. Also could just castle, but now I don't know if the tactic is available. So if I castle, I want to ask myself the question, what's going to happen? Takes, takes, takes. Do I have a way to make something happen there? And rook over, I'm not actually sure. Yeah, I guess the rook can come over. And I'll get my pawn back that way. But knight to d3, I have to move the bishop. Yeah, maybe there's a way that white can actually win a pawn. So I don't really want to lose a pawn like that. So I think, let's see, what am I going to play? If I play d6, do I get into trouble with d4? I can take it, then I can take. That seems fine. And so I think I'll just play natural move d6. Notice, after I got my bishop out, I'm playing d6, not before. Otherwise, I'm stuck with a super passive bishop. So I think this way makes sense. Okay. I think I will play h6 just to stop the pin, because if I let that pin get there, then I have to worry about the knight coming in. And so I feel like it would it made sense in this particular case. So whenever this happens, you have really 3 options. You can trade the bishop. You get the doubled pawns, but that pawn does actually support white's center. The other option is you can go back to b6 and allow the bishop to take you here, or you could do something else and just kind of leave it. Or maybe you hop a piece in here. In this case, I'm not going to because this is pinned, but if that was not pinned, I could think about a move like this. In this case, I think I'm just going to draw back, and I don't want to open up the F file right now and let the rook in, so I'll just go with this option. And I think it's time now to castle and get out of this pin. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, and we want to finish our development. So where does the bishop need to go? Probably here or here. Look like good squares. We'll go to g4. And I am threatening to just take that and open up white's king. Okay, they didn't stop that, so I think I will do that. And just try to take advantage of this area of the board. Okay, so how do we do this? Usually you need a queen or a rook somehow to, attack that. So how can my queen or rook get involved? This is one option. This is another option, knight to h5. The point is then my queen can come over here to h4. Also, I might play f5, f4, and I could bring my rook up. So I like that that gives me a few more options. So I think that's what I'm going to play. But also just try to hop my knight in here to attack like this. If this happens, then my bishop's in a pretty nice square. Knight can go back. So both of these moves look pretty good to me. Maybe I'll start with this one, and then we'll follow up with this. I think that's a good trade, because it kind of leaves this bishop over here not doing anything. Whereas if that bishop ends up trading, I have less pieces that I can potentially use to attack the king. So I think bringing in a piece like this makes sense. And if the bishop trades, that's one less piece defending the king. So now my knight maneuver is even more powerful because there's not going to be a bishop to trade for it. So hopefully that makes sense. Basically trying to, like, if I can leave some pieces of whites over here not doing anything and somehow migrate my pieces in this direction, I'm going to get a stronger attack. Unfortunately, our opponent disconnected. So we're not going to see how this one played out. But I think this was going to be a pretty dangerous idea, along with the queen coming over. And maybe even the rook, but we're not going to see it. Okay, let's go new 10-minute. Let's play e5. And so, if you get tired of like the same old stuff, one thing that you can do is play this move. It's, what is this called? 3 knights opening winnower defense. Basically, it's kind of like playing the King's Gambit for black. You have to understand that there is this diagonal to watch out for, but a lot of times your knight on f6 helps you defend that, so you're okay there. Bishop d3 is a weird move. It's a weird move because it blocks his pawn. So it's also a weird move because I'm wondering if I have a tactic if I take. If the knight were to take, then I would. I could play here and then fork the pieces. If the bishop takes, though, I wouldn't be able to play d5. So I think what I'm going to do is play f4. And the reason is I'm trying to just lock up all these pieces and take advantage of the fact that this bishop is now stuck. Okay, white is trying to undermine that. Do I care, or do I want to just develop? So the first thing that I'm noticing when I see this move is that the light squares become weak, right? Normally the pawn is controlling these things. Now it's not. So I really would like to get my bishop involved right away. So I'm considering d6. Now what I don't like is that my bishop would then be stuck. So maybe I'm going to play bishop c5 first, then try to play d6 and get the bishop out there. I could take this, or I could just leave it. And just go for that quick development that I mentioned. The reason I don't really want to take it is because then it kind of involves the rook, which I don't have to do. But I would like to keep this pawn here, so maybe I will take it. Yeah, I guess I will. Probably could have left it as well, but I was expecting the other way. Generally speaking, you want to capture towards the center. White would have only had one pawn island instead of two pawn islands, and also the rook would have been involved. But they didn't do that. All right, like I mentioned, I do want to get this bishop involved, and so this looks like a great place for it now. Stops white from castling, and the normal kind of reply of d4 is going to be very difficult for white to do anytime soon because the bishop's in the way. All right, so they are trying to at least fix that. Okay, so I think we can play knight to f6, and then d6, get the bishop out. I'm planning on probably going bishop g4. Like I mentioned, this is much more of a powerful pin now because the pawn is not on g2. Imagine if the pawn was on g2, it's very well defended. But now it's only defended one time, which means bishop g4 followed by knight to d4 is an extremely powerful threat. So white has to be very careful for that. If you imagine that the same pin against me is not as good for white. Because even if they get the bishop and the knight there and take this, I can always just recapture with the pawn and I'm fine. Whereas white doesn't have the same luxury. So you can see how even that small move going back here of playing g3, now a few moves later, we're starting to see the ramifications of that. Okay, they are going to probably try to do the same thing, but like I mentioned, I'm not really concerned. I think mine is going to be much more powerful. So let's go ahead. Bishop to g4, and I'm threatening knight to d4. Okay, good move by my opponent. They're at least noticing that that's a big deal, and they're saying, no, I don't want to allow that to happen. So I don't think I want to trade, because then it activates white's queen. Yes, I could play knight to d4 to try to follow up. Queen f2 or queen somewhere here to kind of defend this threat. Probably white is doing okay. I think what I'm going to do is just go back and force white to make another pawn move. Really weakens the king side. Okay, and then I'm basically guaranteed the king side is going to be weak for the rest of the game. I won't have my pin, of course, but I think that it's worth it to get the weak king side there. Okay, so let's retreat. I was thinking if there's any like crazy tactics where I could sacrifice my queen and get a checkmate, but it doesn't quite work. Here or here, I don't really want to go here because that would mess up my king. My king would be exposed, and so I think the only move here is bishop to g6. And the way that this is looking, it looks like the queen side is probably going to be the safest place for my king. I mean, maybe I could get rid of this bishop and try to castle king side, but it's kind of looking like queen side is going to be the safer option. So I'm going to start thinking through how can I do that. Maybe queen d7 in castles, queen e7 in castles. Let's see what white's going to do about this. I'm imagining white might play like knight to d5, and I will have to figure out how I want to deal with that. We play knight to b5, which is a weird move, and I don't really understand what the threat is. This is not a threat. Yeah, I don't get that one. So I think what I'm going to do is just continue with what I mentioned. Queen to d7. They resign. Okay. Weird game. Weird game. What I was going to do is play queen d7 and get ready to castle, like I mentioned. But anyway. All right, here we go. e4. Attacking the center. All right, let's play the Scotch, and if they take, we'll play the Scotch Gambit. They played the move b6. So, okay, weird move. Looks like I can push forward, attack the knight, and then potentially take this guy. Okay. Yeah, looks like a free pawn. Yes, there's queen e7, but then I could... Yeah, I was going to say I have queen d4, but if I do that right now, then there would be the fork. So maybe it does make sense to chase the knight away first. A3, just force it to the edge of the board, and then I can probably take. And if queen e7 happens, I have queen d4, which just defends everything. You can see only move for black, knight to a6, everything else is taken away. They have to go here. And they don't go there, so I will be taking the knight for free. And this, you know, not super concerned. Yes, I can't castle, but I got a piece. Totally worth it. It's totally worth it. Okay. Pawn's under attack. This didn't really do anything that concerns me. I'm going to play b5. It saves my pawn. Also kind of cramps down on black's position. Wow, very bold move. And I'm going to take this opportunity to use my rook, which is sitting there, and come in and put pressure on black's king. So we have a check. The king would move here. We could trade, which is fine because we are ahead. But if I can get my queen over there quickly, we might actually be able to checkmate. I'm going to play the move c4, not because I really care about this. I mean, yes, it does defend my pawns. The primary reason for playing this is to go over here with my queen. Because once my queen and rook are lined up, I can go check, and checkmate with the queen. So that's the game plan. That move doesn't really stop it, so let's go here. And I don't see, I think black has to do something like d6 to give their king a place, yeah, it's a place to run to. I do have bishop g5, which now maybe I should take advantage of. I was trying to go for checkmate, but it does look like the king is going to escape. And so I think I will play bishop g5. Was kind of ignoring everything else while I was going for checkmate because it was such a powerful threat. But now that black has created a way to escape, I'm shifting my focus to what else is going on, and we can capture that rook. We'll take that. Probably going to follow up here and just trade some more stuff. And I mean, of course, I'm also keeping an eye out on what black is doing, like what's going on here. But my threats have been more powerful right now. This one I do have to be careful for. I don't want to let some crazy back rank or perpetual check happen. But it looks like after this happens, I can always just block, play knight to d2. And then if this happens, just slide over. And I wouldn't be able to block with knight f1. So I think I'm fine there. But I just wanted to, you know, kind of verify that. Let's go ahead and go for the skewer here and take the rook. Now that I've checked that I'm not going to get into trouble. All right, let's take the rook. Knight to g4. Okay, so this is a threat, but it's not really a big threat. Because even if the knight takes, my king is still fine. Even if the bishop takes, there's check, I take. It looks fine to me. I'm not really concerned with that. I think what I'm going to do is play queen to a8. And threaten checkmate on black's king. So we have this move would be checkmate. This move would also be checkmate. So I don't know that black can stop that. I don't think they can. Okay, they don't. They go for the counter attack, and we will take the checkmate. All right, 782. I'm going to play one more game, and then call it a good run for this video. D4. Haven't seen that. All right, let's play. We'll just play D5. We'll keep it simple. Queen's Gambit. So let's... how do we want to play this? Let's play the Queen's Gambit Accepted. And I'll show you guys a setup that I like to use against the Queen's Gambit Accepted. That's, well, e4. Okay. A lot of times they don't play that move, but that's fine. I'm going to play knight to f6 and attack it. And if they push on me, it's going to open up the d5 square for my knight to hop into. Okay, I'm going to play e6. And again, if they push, I can hop over here. And you might say, Nelson, you blocked your bishop in. And what I like to do a lot of times is play the move a6, b5, and put my bishop over here. And it kind of slices across the center. And it's a different approach, but it's a fun one. I use this one a lot in Blitz. And c5 is a good kind of follow-up move. Okay, so here we see the e5 push. I actually have two options for my knight here to hop into both of these squares. I think I'll go with knight to d5, but I could have easily played knight to e4 as well. Of course, yeah, if we get a big trade here, I'm happy with this because this guy is a weak target. This is called a backward pawn because the pawns on the side of it have pushed forward. Well, this one's gone when it's pushed forward, so it's easy to attack. So my 10-month-old is screaming in the background. So what was I gonna say? Yeah, this is a target basically. So I don't need to worry about it immediately. I think I'm just gonna play bishop e7 and try to get castled, and then probably pile up on this guy. Knight c6, bring a rook over, something like that. I could also play c5, but I might want to get a battery created here first, then play c5. Let's see what white is going to do. a3. Okay, I'm going to castle. b4. I was just trying to stop c5. It makes sense. I'm going to bring the rook over. Like I mentioned, I'm just kind of piling up on that pawn. And knight c6 and a5, maybe to start undermining this, makes sense. Okay, so let's go knight c6. Here we go. We have 1, 2, 3 attackers. So white needs to defend, probably with the bishop. And then I think we're going to go a5 and try to get some more pressure. Okay, they didn't defend the pawn. So I believe we can just take free pawn, which I will do. Take the pawn. And now we just have an endgame up a pawn. You can see 3 against 2. Pawn majority over here. So this is where I probably want to focus my efforts. They don't notice that the bishop is hanging. So we will take that. And now we have an extra piece. Okay. I think I'm just going to tuck my bishop back here. Get it out of the way of being captured. And now probably a5 is coming next to try to trade off, potentially win a pawn. Okay, I do want to be careful for the back rank, but I have my bishop there, so I'm fine. Even if white were to go here and I trade this, I'm not in danger of getting checkmated because the bishop is blocking, right? So everything looks good. I'm not worried. I'm going to go ahead and continue with the plan here of playing a5. Okay, I'm not sure what white is doing, but you know, I'm not concerned about this. That's already defended. I can't go here anymore because of my rook. I'm fine. All right, let's go ahead and take the free pawn. And what did white fail to realize? The back rank, right? The back rank. And so yes, they were trying to make a nice threat, but you have to, you know, double check your back rank before you do that. And so it's over. All right, 791. I need to stop here. But I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.